December 11th, 2025. Before you know it, 2025 will be behind us. But while we still got a few more weeks left, we will enjoy every minute of it while we're, at least up here in Philadelphia, freezing our behinds off. Cloudy 33-degree day here in Philadelphia area, but I digress. Welcome to the MSP Initiative podcast called MSP Talk. Again, December 11th, just got back from our very last live event of the year for MSP Initiative. We had 74 people in Los Angeles 2 days ago for Monday Night Football, Eagles at Chargers. So thanks to everyone who decided to join us on the last stop of the Channel Sports Tour. This is our inaugural year doing Channel Sports Tour. This was our pivot off of the Channel Strong Tour, if you remember that back during COVID times. That was fun time. We decided now that, we don't have to drive a tour bus through America. We, go a little bit more indoors here although a lot of NFL stadiums and most are outdoors. I digress. Anyway, so we went to Dallas, Kansas City, Green Bay, Tampa Bay, and Los Angeles. That was the Channel Sports Tour route this year. We're going to keep it going, and we have a lot of dates to announce for 26. So I'm very excited to talk about the 2026 schedule. We'll wait a little bit for that. We'll kind of reminisce here and close out 2025, and then we'll talk about 26 once we get past Gen 1. But anyway, a familiar face, and speaking about the Channel Strong Tour, a familiar person from all of those stops and thousands of miles of driving across America. When I say the word U-Box, this person comes to mind. Welcome back to the show, Pete Busam from Equilibrium and Mark It Tex. How you doing, Pete?
Doing good, George. Doing good. And I think that U-Box still sits somewhere in the depot down here at under repair. Who knows?
That was not a smooth operation. Personal experience, just telling you what we went through. The U-Haul U-Box process was bumpy, bumpy, bumpy. So it did ultimately get where it had to go, kind of. It didn't quite come back not without a lot of effort, but if you don't try, you don't know, and we definitely try.
Well, don't they say adventures in moving? So we can just say adventures because we weren't moving, but we were kind of moving the way that you were driving. So
I mean, every day is a new adventure. We definitely for sure. And hey, listen, if you ain't moving, then you ain't going anywhere. Or as I like to say it up here in the Northeast, if you ain't cutting anybody off, then you ain't getting where you got to go.
yeah, well, heck, what's 3 lanes of traffic to get off a highway?
That was a very smooth turn. I don't know what you're talking about. I thought that was a very clutch, movement across that road at that time, but I digress.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
Um,
Can't say I haven't done it myself. So
well, you have way more experience driving a pickup truck with something connected to it. That is for sure.
yeah, but 3 lanes with what I pull is not necessarily a good thing at all.
Yeah, that's for
You
sure.
know, 30,
Uh,
30 foot of trailer behind you.
yeah. Well, Pete, here we are coming towards the end of 2025. It has been quite the year. I feel like it went by pretty fast in comparison to maybe even last year. And that's even hard to imagine because last year was very busy. But as all things go, and I'm going to open up the show today with this thought. It's almost like death and taxes. Microsoft has announced that come mid next year, they are once again, for I feel like 6th year in a row, I could be wrong, but I think it's that, are going to raise the prices on Microsoft 365. I was just talking with an MSP yesterday about this very topic, and this MSP said, well, his guess is that the reason that they're raising prices other than their Microsoft and they like to raise prices because they can is that nobody is really adopting all of their AI stuff. And so what they're doing is they're just raising their prices to include it.
Mhm.
And so I guess because of how big they are, they might be able to get away with that. I would say most people suffer when they try to play this game. What's your opinion on number one, yet another year of price increases, anywhere from 5 to 33%, Pete, by the way,
Yeah.
Microsoft and them trying to ram AI SKUs down everybody's throat. I'll throw one more kind of wrinkle topic and I'll let you respond is if Microsoft is having a hard time getting adoption of I think we're maybe more hype than results. But you tell me, what do you think on those three things?
Well, I hadn't thought about building the price of the AI into it, but it's inevitable, right? They got to cover that cost somehow. So if they can't sell it, they're going to have to find a way to bundle it and put it in. And, since they have the corner on the market, where's everybody going to go? There's really nothing out there. Even with the Google land, there's just not enough adoption. So I can see where that could be, but they did again this year. They did the upheaval of the partner program again, changing all kinds of benefits, and then reeling it back in a little bit, right? Okay, the partners balked enough, so this is where they balk, so this is where we'll see if we can find that typical profile of what Microsoft does. So we'll see, but raise prices, skim more profit. There's just, Microsoft has become a commodity product. There's really no consulting around it anymore. It's just a work group act that's being used.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. We were just talking before we hit go on the show about the new Outlook.
Yeah, my
Not a
my
fan.
pain this week.
Not
Nor am
not a
I.
fan.
Nor am I. And it broke for me. And for a day, I tried to rebuild profiles and indexes and get rid of the temp files and everything that Microsoft said to do. And then finally, I just said, what would happen if I just do this? And the thing came to life. And it hasn't stopped working. Of course, now I'm on a mission and I'm close of turning features off in the new Outlook that are giving me more of the older look and feel back that are more familiar.
Mhm.
Because I just don't have the time to switch from focus to clutter to this to this comical version of what my calendar looks like. I just want to see the list. I just want to see the list. I want to be productive, and I often wonder, you know, these guys that are sitting there and gals that are programming this in development, do they really take into consider the user? Like, are we really making it easy? And they're not the only ones. Like QuickBooks went and reimagined their whole menu system. And it took me like a day to find a feature. And none of the documentation that's available is caught up to the version. So everything you look or you search or you use AI for, it's non-existent. It tells you to go here, 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 and that stuff doesn't. So you've got to get in and learn it and play it.
Yeah.
So
Well, it is part and parcel. It seems companies just do whatever they want to do and maybe
mhm.
not get the feedback loop. And they just wait for it's almost counterintuitive, Pete, right? Instead of getting feedback before you put stuff out, you just put it out and wait for people to gripe. Kind of like your Microsoft comment with the partner program, and you're like, oh,
Yeah,
I guess I didn't like that. Let's reel that back. Seems like it's upside down.
yeah. And it reminds me a lot when like back in the day when you got 30 disks of Microsoft Office, right?
Hmm.
And you would install the whole thing and then something would go and a feature wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And there was nothing. There wasn't a lot of data out on the internet at that point because it was relatively new. Hard to say that the internet is that young and that old at the same time. But when you look at it, you would call Microsoft and they'd say, "Oh, that's a bug." And then they would send you a new set of 30 disks and you'd start all over again. And then you had to go on your infrastructure and manually. You didn't have an RMM that you could
Hey,
push
man,
push it out.
remember they still used to send Action Pack in a binder every year.
Oh yeah, that's right. And you would get an update sleeve every now and then, right? couple discs for your updates.
Man, we're in a
So,
whole different time now.
and who knows now if Action Pack is really going to live too much longer.
No, I think it's cooked. I think
Yep.
it's done. I think once you're expired, they ain't coming back.
Yep. So belly up and
100%.
get your wallets out for all of those NFRs that you're using in-house production for.
They came out with new packages, to kind of offset it, but it's all rolled into all these, partner program changes you were just referencing.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, of course, part of the problem, from what I understand it to be, for whatever that's worth, is that there were just too many partners and people signing up as a partner to be a partner to get discounts. And so then
Hmm.
Microsoft was like, all right, well, there has to be a floor that, cuts out these people trying to do that, and so on and so forth. So, I mean, bottom line is the big guys do big things. They're not always popular. I think that, for the people that play the Microsoft game where they have to like get a CPA damn near in order to like submit all your paperwork and put you 40 hours of work in, I'm ballparking here. I mean, I haven't done it myself
It's
recently.
it's it's a lot. I mean, we work with just to get your MDF. It's like
Yeah.
forget it. And it's great when you're at a level where you just get it back from a partner or a distributor, right? And they just rebate it back. But once you get above a certain amount, they hold it. They don't pay it out, and you've got to claim it every June for payment in July or December. So we're coming up on that. So if you're over I think the limit is 10,000 right now. If you have got 10,000 back this year, but anything over that 10,000 limit for your last 6 months, you better make your claim or Microsoft just sweeps it away and you never get it.
Yeah.
So, uh,
100%. So it's interesting, some things change, some things stay the same. But the
mhm.
rat race in IT services and managed services land continues to spin, in one variant of itself or another.
Well, and we were talking about things that we might chat about, but I just wrote a series of 6 articles about what the next MSP looks like, and it's really
There's a big dispute on what version of MSP is it? Is it MSP 2.0, 3.0, 10.0, 18.0? What is it?
it's not an MSP at all.
Ah, what is it?
It is an AIS.
AIS. And what does that
Yeah.
stand for?
Well, it stands for a automation service provider, and it's going to be the combination of traditional IT, AI, RPA, all bundled into one, but it's going to take things on like mechanization, digital automation, connected intelligence, basically robo ops and edge AI maintenance, where MSPs are going to really be looking at not necessarily servicing PCs or servers or cloud infrastructure. They're going to be looking at storage, where the storage is, what devices is the storage connected to, how is it transporting from the robots that are out in the field, where right now we say a robot could be an IoT device, right? But the robots are going to become more mechanized to do more features. And then you've got the drones that are going out and doing things that wouldn't, that are streaming, incredible amounts of
Are
data
are we
back.
are we talking about Terminator here? Like this is 2025, Pete.
We're moving some of that way,
All right, like
and
are
industrial, we're industrial revolution 4.0 right now, and we're moving towards IR 5, so, and we're going to be there within a couple of years. So the companies that get out and really start thinking about this are going to really lead on that curve of higher profitability and
I
going.
mean the way you're describing things, it's a completely different business model
It
uh
is.
than what we're talking about.
And I challenge you, go read the 6-piece articles because it describes all of them and all the different phases of what the transition looks like and how to get there and go to market strategy and everything. But
Well, I mean,
um,
it
it,
would seem that the If what you're saying is true, and I'm not sure it is, but let's just take let's go into an alternative universe where it is. The skill set that you're talking about is
Hmm.
not existent in, I'm making up a number, 90% of the current businesses that would be categorized as IT or MSP.
You are correct. But what's going to happen is these businesses, so banks are adopting drone techniques. And there's actually an MSP that is out in the Chicagoland area that has adapted and really moved into this. And they have gone out and gotten drone licenses and FTC certifications and FAA certifications that they can do these. And they go out, big construction project, right? You're going out and you're putting a phase of money out before you do get your next phase of money. You have to get sign off and completion. So now instead of sending somebody out, they actually send a drone up to go do the inspection and do a fly around the building and the floors and streaming that data back using AI then to capture the key elements, push it back, make some decision data, and then go. And the MSP actually owns the drones, does the flight ops, files the flight plans. So they're the operators, but they do the maintenance and then they manage the whole infrastructure on the back end for where all that data is going to reside and who has access to it and put the applications behind it. So different thought process, but
But to me, that's a whole nother business. Like, I don't think they should or would be operating this drone fleet service or as a service, um, under the same entity that is doing Microsoft 365 licensing and cloud this and infrastructure that and all that, help desk support this. Like, just seems like it's an entire different modality, man.
it is, but it's going to be blended in because it's coming. Drones are now coming into emergency services. They're coming into banking operations. They're coming in, and there's other IoT now that's showing up, robotics that are showing up inside of manufacturing. So the device change is going to force the change to look forward to say, how am I servicing my customers? Or I'm not going to service them because the devices that they're using are changing. They're still running on certain operating systems. They still need maintenance, but there's going to be a whole new breed, and I call it the automation service provider, where
Automation.
managed services can then be gone in and there's security that's wrapped around it. So it's all the traditional things. And it's a lot like the transition we went through from break fix projects up into full managed services, right? Everybody's trying to wrap their head around what does this look like? All you hear is RPA, AI, right? Well, RPA is a big part of this because you're doing all the process automation using the robo ops type stuff. So
Yeah. Okay.
it's forward thinking, right? But it's
I
coming.
I feel like I feel like I'm listening to a scene from iRobot, the movie with Will Smith in it.
I think within the next couple of years, you're going to see more and more
But
providers jumping in.
I just want to remind you, if you haven't seen that movie, spoiler alert, it doesn't end well.
That's right. Well,
I
I
mean,
mean, look at what AI has done to ourselves already. I mean, without the guardrails, it got unleashed to the wolves into the world, and it's kind of doing its own thing with hallucinations and other things. It's,
well, back to a topic
bad
that I brought up.
actors and
Well, I mentioned this line earlier. I'm going to try it one more time. A lot of hype, Pete. I'm not sure about a lot of good results.
mm-hmm. Yep.
I hate to say it, but and I'm not knocking people for trying. I'm a toy box guy like everybody else. I like shiny new objects and
Mm-hmm.
I love the bleeding edge of things, but there's the practicality part that doesn't always meet that. And I feel like there's a lot of promises. I mentioned this on that same call with that MSP who was like, they can't sell AI, so they're just jacking up the Microsoft 365 rates in order to just,
Right.
include it, and then you're not going to end up using it, and you're going to pay for it anyway. Okay, that same conversation was, Well, yeah, we've been sold the single pane of glass for 20 years, still doesn't exist.
Hmm.
So like at what point, is the AI the black oil sales snake oil salesman of 2025, right?
Oh.
It can do everything. It can pour your coffee, change your tire, deliver your package by drone, and like not really because no offense to all of that, but Walmart and Amazon and all these guys said that all my packages are going to be delivered by drone like 4 years ago. Domino's
Hmm.
Pizza was telling me I was going to get my delivery by drone. Ain't
Yep.
happening, Pete. Still not happening. It's 2025. We're almost
It's
26.
happening in some different places.
Okay.
I've seen some of it, but look at the little carts that are driving around on the streets. Those are little robots driving around with their food cart in them, and they come up and you scan your app and it pops open the door and you get your food and they go on, right? Big thing out in LA, other big cities, walking into them all over the street. Not sure
Okay.
if they hit Philadelphia yet. They certainly haven't hit down here. We're not big enough,
I
but
haven't seen it. I'd be worried that somebody doesn't just pick up with the damn thing and run off with it. But I don't know.
But if you look at practicality, you said that big word, practicality,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Um, you've built products. We have products that use AI and API keys that go in and link some products to do and enhance productivity. So, I think some vendors are just throwing AI into the product just because it's the buzz, right? Oh, we can do this with AI. But what's the true value of it? What's it really bringing other than, it's a tinker toy, right? Is it is it
This
adding
is the
value
problem.
to the business? And that's where I think, uh, when I say both our firms, we've both developed different product sets that go out, but they actually enhance what our core mission is to our customers. And I think that's where a lot of businesses are missing. Um, they're just saying, let's throw AI in and say we have an AI enhanced, you know, in there to do these things. And they really don't change the functionality of it. It's just a buzzword to sell more software or subscriptions.
Yeah,
So,
that's a shame. I hope that we don't keep running into this concept, or at least this one MSP's concept that the people are just going to raise their price, put it in there, and then it's not functional, not useful. Nobody's actually taking advantage of it, paying the freight for a service that you're not really using, right? Like if that's where this is going, excuse to raise your price, right? Is
mhm.
really what it comes down to. And not saying the price isn't going to go up. We all know that that's just that natural course of business to a certain degree, but um
And then the
that
bigger picture is
yeah,
who's going to pay for the infrastructure upgrades of these things after they initially get done? Because we know that the data consumption is just going to grow, the processing power is just going to grow, or the requirement for it is going to grow
yeah,
as more people come online or more products get enhanced.
sure. To that point,
Megabytes are now terabytes, right? Terabytes are going to move to petabytes for everybody,
yeah.
and uh, 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 you know, at what point do the data centers not have the power or the cooling, uh, whatever it might be, to fuel? So do we go into a slowdown because nobody can afford? Like, think of every time Verizon or the other data centers used to have to upgrade all their infrastructure. You'd feel it, right? It would creep up and it would slow down and you'd start seeing outages and all that. And then they would get some kind of money influx. But man, we're talking $700 billion at a time for a data center now. We're not
Well,
talking 700 million anymore. We're
the
talking,
power thing is a legitimate problem.
yep.
There's no argument there. Like, it's funny when we were all talking about everybody was going to switch to electric cars, which I predicted, our mutual buddy over there up in New York. I was like, this electric car thing's it's not gonna hit, mass adoption. He's like, no, man, it's great. It's the best thing since sliced bread. I'm like, okay, all right. Not when you're in a cold weather town and that battery goes half the range. I'm not so sure that's gonna work, but okay. And then you find out that like the cities don't have enough power, to even, cover a fraction of the cars that would have to switch, right? Like this
Oh
is the
yeah.
same problem, just on a larger scale, to the point where you know, this. I think I would, 86, if I'm not, it was 85 or 86. Maybe you'll remember, Pete. 3 Mile Island in Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah, somewhere right back in then. Yep.
Like I watched a Netflix docuseries on it. It was like 30 minutes away from Chernobyl, status.
Right.
So Google bought and reopened them
Yeah.
because they need power.
Yeah.
They
Well,
opened up a nuclear power plant.
and it'll be cheaper than trying to figure out how to do whatever. But I don't know if you've seen too, they have these little portable nuclear power plants now that are like little boxes that just have a chimney next to them for, what they're, emitting out, but they pop them up and they're small little power gen stations just like we have for regular traditional electricity. And they can put them right next to a body of water and
So who,
um,
not to bring another movie into this, it was Ben Affleck. Um, it'll come to me the title, or I'll Google it. But it was about somebody smuggled a briefcase-based nuclear bomb into the United States.
okay.
Like when you're saying portable nuclear power plant, like that can't just be something you buy at Walmart.
No, I mean it's smaller. It's not that portable, but they're basically like small nuclear reactors, and they almost look like a turbine. Um, and it's unbelievable. They just
Got to
have
put
a
a
small
nuclear power.
building that they go into. They put some security around them, and um, I want to say they're a couple 100 megawatts that they can build them up to, which is a lot of power if you think about it. But
Some of some of all fears. That's the movie.
some of
So-
all fears.
2002. Some of all fears. Anyway, okay, all right. Just want to make sure we're being
Yeah,
practical and smart.
but
Let's.
I agree with you. Um, look at California. Not to just take away that it's California because we don't want to upset anybody that's over on the island there. But um, they have the roving blackouts now because they don't have enough power just to service the people. Now you're going to bring AI. You're going to bring all the cars and the power grid and push power everything. Like you're going to blow up your power grid. It's just going to collapse at some point. You don't have the
Yeah,
infrastructure. The infrastructure is older, so it doesn't have the transport that it needs to get where it needs to go. So
yeah.
that's a big problem. So
Well, I was reading an article I found in my feed last week that the next data center is going to be every sporting arena, like an NFL stadium, because look at the amount of data that's being generated during a game.
yeah, I believe it.
And I was just like, huh, I hadn't thought about that. I remember reading a while back, this may be like 2019, 2020. At the time, Walmart was generating more new data, in terms of raw data generation because of how they were tracking everything that happened in their stores than Google was.
Hmm.
And I was like, how is that even possible? But like last 12, they said the last 12 months of data, net new data generation, I read this as well, is more than the last 4 years.
I believe it.
So yeah, we're definitely moving fast. To your point, how do we keep up with it all? Actually, also, funny enough, adjacent topic. Do you remember Crucial? Like the site you go to like do your memory and like I need
Yeah,
an upgrade and they would scan your computer and then sell you the pricing. Yeah,
yeah.
they'd be like, here's what it costs. They basically shut down their retail offering because they only want to sell memory now to data centers for AI.
Yep.
It's crazy.
And they will
Absolutely.
probably do pretty phenomenal. But
They,
look at NVIDIA. Look at NVIDIA. I mean, the processors and the GPUs on a video card. If you were a crypto miner, like my son is big in crypto mining, and he put up a bunch of miners and he turns them off and on as different coins are moving. But it's all just a motherboard with, you know, 10 video cards hanging on it.
hmm
Not even in a box because it's got to be cooled. So, it's just hanging from a baker's rack on like wires with fans pushing air across it so it can do. And they just crank away. But the power consumption is huge,
So-
triples the power consumption. They
Okay,
draw a
so,
lot of
so
power.
so with all the reality of what we just said, let's bring it back to the business case. At some point, the Open AIs and the Googles and everybody else who are basically getting this out there in mass, they're running on a negative, right? They got to be not profitable at this point
I don't
because,
know how they make money at this point.
but at some point in the future, they're gonna have to turn the corner and make it make money.
Hmm.
That means the price has got to go up.
Hmm.
It has to. Like you
Yeah.
can't keep like how long I was watching the I hadn't even finished it yet, the Uber docuseries. Like they were in the red for a long time. Like they were just burning cash in order to get it out there. Like that's kind of where it is right now on this topic, right? Like
Hmm.
can they go a decade before they start making money off?
Uh,
I can't imagine.
I think the costs that go along with scaling the AI platform are going to condense that schedule of profitability, unlike other SaaS device or SaaS products. There's just too much dependency on cost, for scaling, and
So
reliance on others for scaling.
but my fear is you see what Microsoft's done over the last 5, 6 years, where every year it's going up 20, 30%. Like, could you imagine all of these SaaS based, AI wrappers, and then all of a sudden, next month OpenAI says, hey, we're gonna rate you get 2x our price, 3x our price. I mean, it could happen pretty quickly.
Hmm. Which then is going to be catastrophic for those that have the API calls into their own product because they're
Correct.
going to um, they're going to move from there right in. So,
Yeah. Flipping around to the concept of displacing people because this new technology category can just do the work, back office work, front office work. What happens when it goes down, Pete? It's like they're data centers, right? We just said there's power, there's servers, there's cooling, there's internet connectivity, fiber, whatever, right? Like if you make the front door this all, the AI stuff, and the AI is out because it has a down, an outage of some sort, you're out of business. What's the backup plan?
I'll give you a great example of something down that I experienced the other day. I went to the car wash, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going to drive through, and there's this guy in a Tesla ahead of me.
Mm-hmm.
And he backed out where he was vacuuming and he was sitting in the middle of the parking lot.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, his car stalled, right? He lost
I told you
connection.
about this electric car thing. Keep going.
He lost connection to the internet, which was the GPS, which allows the car to operate or function.
Mm-hmm.
And he had to wait till it went. And that area of town is like the worst area for connectivity. There's 15 towers and they're all beaming and none of them can seem to get the signal. And that's one of the reasons had to switch providers is I had to take the worst of all evils to get just so I could have cell phone service in my house, right? Because I couldn't get it. I have 15 towers within a 10-mile radius, and none of them
Hmm.
could get it. They could see my device, but I couldn't get it. Same thing there.
What,
So
what did you switch to? Boost Mobile?
I switched to T-Mobile actually, but I had been a Verizon customer for whatever, because up in Philly, when I worked in Philly, Verizon was in the city and I had the city contract. So my phone always worked inside a city hall, no matter how deep I went in. So, and I hated to move because, it always worked, but it was the only one that I could get signal at my house reliably.
Yeah.
Right. And it's still, there's areas where I can't. But this car basically lost its connection. And until it got a connection back up with the satellites, the guy couldn't start his car. And people were like, oh, that's not true. That's not true. That I'm like, I lived it. I was sitting there. I was like, said said to the guy. So we all got out of the car and we pushed him to the side so we could all go get our car washed and get through. But Here's a real, can you imagine being on a highway and losing connection?
That is
And
crazy.
what happens then is there some kind of localized, maybe they made some modifications or they're making some modifications based on that, but and I'm sure they all go up to Starlink, right? Because that's their so hopefully they've got more redundancy and reliability now that they've got bazillion
I mean,
satellites
this is an
running around.
older, this is an old theme, but I think it's more viable now than ever. Like, what's your DR strategy?
Hmm.
Like, if the, and I've been saying this now all year, Pete, the drive-through AI order taker has not gone well. Okay. You can Google Wendy's, you can Google Taco Bell, you can Google McDonald's. Like they've all tried it. They continue to try it. It's worked and then it hasn't worked. And when it hasn't worked epically. But that being said, like the DR strategy to the AI order taker is the human being can still jump in with the headset and take your order, right?
Hmm.
The AI strategy to, your business when you flip the front door to AI and replace people with it is what? If they can't reach you because
Notice
it's
my
not
silence.
working, yeah. If they can't reach you because it's down and it's not working, then what?
Yeah, exactly right. And it's again, I think it was cool that they got AI out there, but I think there was a lot to be determined. And I kind of feel like it was a software approach. Let's build it, let's throw it out there. And if when it fails, we'll fix it. But now there's no redundancy. There's no connectivity solution behind the grid, both connectivity and power are not supporting it. And the costs of practical, you know, use of how you make money with it or for it or around it or they're all if knowns not to let the safeguard guardrails around how do you protect how do you isolate your data and keep it out of the LLMs. And as much as you try and do that, even though you operate the minute that you open up into a public connection, I always have the question, okay, I did something locally. I ran it on a local LLM. I have a machine that I run locally. Now all of a sudden I open up. I won't open that machine up to any other public source. So I kind of feel like that, but what are the guardrails? There are none. There's no security protocol that you can lay on top of AI that's going to safeguard your data. So
Mm-hmm.
everybody's stuff could be out there running rampant and they think they've got something, but do they? It's not
That
validated
is
anywhere.
that for an industry that spent the last 5 years before the last 2 years talking about cybersecurity this and cybersecurity that, it's interesting that we completely threw it out the window with the baby in the bathwater, in order to plug in this new shiny thing. But
Yeah.
okay,
And then the government throws around CMMC and all that. And what are they doing? How are they
plugging it
putting
in.
guardrails around it? How does CMMC even cover AI? It doesn't.
That this is one of those times where the technology is moving faster than the people making the rules.
I think so.
Yeah,
And, I don't know. I think that's where our legislature is getting a little concerned. So,
interesting. But back to practicality, big word. I like to use it these days. Again, still bleeding edge guy, still love cookies and new toys and shiny things. Practicality. So obviously, a lot has been said about not needing the marketing resources that you used to have because you can replace a five-man team with two or three new AI tools and it'll just do it all for you. Any truth to that, or is that just some bait and switch stuff there?
I think it changes the skill set that you have. I mean, I know for us, there's certain things that we're doing, and you saw a sample of the one that I sent up to you. And certainly, as we talked about, it's only as good as the data that it's pulling from to give you a good result, right? But
Mm-hmm.
if you have good data, it's a really good result. That's something that would have taken us a week and a half to really mash through the data and spreadsheets and sort through and do all that, where we can do it now in probably less than an hour,
Hmm.
right? If it's a good data set. We can take some of that data and we can move it into other tools that will help us generate the content that's going to help business advance, their ICPs, their personas, their journeys, and into their websites and SEO and a bunch of other things. So technically, we can do more with the same amount of people. However, just as anything, as that product is taking off and people are starting to see it and use it with us, now we're having to scale the human side differently. So we saved up front, but we have a higher skill set on the back end now to service that data structure and look at that to make good decisions and help guide a client properly. And I think so you're taking down here in this skill set, and like you said, the automated attendants don't always work the way that they should, whether it's a fast food or a bank or some kind of, you know, uh, thing, like you've actually worked on probably very deeply on feedback from your clients on your OneStream products. So, but the skill sets to troubleshoot now are different, right? You have a different level of developer, you have a different level of support analyst that's going to be in place, and the skill sets do have to change. You know,
Hmm.
so
Interesting.
so as the RPA AI combination start hooking into the products more, where they're actually practical for use, um, the troubleshooting techniques change. And that's where I was going with that article set that I wrote was the skill sets need to go up, the go-to-market strategy. I mean, you changed your whole go-to-market strategy. You flipped it, right? And so as this continues to evolve, everybody's got to evolve to a new level of skills, a new level of how they roll it out, how do they go to market, and how do they support it? And then what's next, you know?
Well, let me go over here then. Just because you can generate a lot of content quickly doesn't mean that it's good. Like there is something to be said for people can kind of already eyeball something authentic versus something automated, generation of stuff, right? And like at at what point it's almost I'm gonna give you a parallel, right? We complained for 20 years that the alerts that were being generated out of the RMM were just noise and they weren't really meaningful and they created a lot of fatigue, right? Because you're like, this doesn't even matter to me, right? Like it's creating noise that I don't care about. Is it creating content that we don't care about? Is it just generating feed traffic that people skip over because, they feel like it's not genuine content? What do you think about that?
I think it's like anything else, and I'll use content writing for blogs or LinkedIn posts. You can go out and you can look at this and you can automatically say that was written with AI. I
Hmm.
can look at it and I can say these people are getting lazy. They're not using their brains to write content. They're giving a one-line thing and letting a chat engine just do its thing, right?
Hmm.
And give you content, and they're pasting it in. Well, there's the artifacts that go into that data. So now you're getting what's called AI stop. And AI stop is basically Meta, Microsoft, chat, all of these platforms now are doing what's called AI stop. And if they see the artifacts, they're going to push your content down. So as quick as you rose because there was no guardrails, now what they're going to say is you can't do AI everything because there's a human factor and we don't want AI everything. So we're going to react to the market a little bit and say people are still valuable. So we're going to do what's called the AI stop. And basically, they're just putting guardrails and pushing content down. So you've got to use some tool sets to, one, don't just copy and paste from a chat engine even into a web page, because it's so perfectly formatted that, it's like, oh, great, I don't have to do anything. Well, you're right, you don't. But the engines now for SEO, AEO, GEO are going to push it down. It's just not going to be relevant content. So you might have been on page 1 or 2, and all of a sudden you could find yourself on page 6 or 7 because you're just relying on AI 100%. So they want authenticity and they want to see that the human element is in there. And you're going to see more of the little CR on graphics and content that you're going to have to market as such. So as you start posting in YouTube, it's going to ask you the question, is this AI generated? And if you're using one of those AI generated tools to use your voice in your avatar, it's going to flag it and it's going
Huh.
to move your content down. And if you don't put the little and say, yes, it's AI content, if you don't, they will mark it with the CR and that will then push it down in there. So there's a lot of changes that are coming where AEO, GEO do these things. Yes, absolutely, you've got to do them because SEO is not dead. It's just a new form of SEO. And if you don't
Hmm.
understand it, you've got to make those changes. And so, and if you're not doing it now, you better get doing it because you're going to get left behind real quick.
So,
But
so this is so what you're saying, this is kind of the same thing that happened when, you got paid to put out content because you were, repping a brand, right? And it's like,
mhm,
hey, there's paid for, or like the label that you see, right, in the post, right? Like there's a paid for you know, influencer ad or paid for, you know, post, right? Where you're repping something, right? And you actually have to put a little tag on there that,
mhm,
it's compensated content. It's similar, right? But now you're saying AI generated content.
yep.
Okay.
So you those little CRs are the new consortium for AI generated, and they're asking all of the companies to go out and do it. And start
All right. Well,
flagging their stuff. So like Adobe has adopted it now. So if you
okay.
go into like Adobe Stock or Express and use something that was AI generated, it's automatically going to have the CR on it because they've locked it into the
All right. How
image.
far does that go? Like, for example, let's say you're using a tool to edit content. So is you use AI to maybe generate some graphics or some overlays or to cut up content, but it's still human generated at its source. Like, well, how do they define what is it 100%? Is it 50%? Like, I don't know what the rules are.
I think there are certain patterns that AI engines that are policing this can see that it was AI generated. And if it gets over a certain amount, then it will get flagged, right? And
Okay.
once it gets flagged, it's you're not even going to get anything from the, Facebook jail or whatever. Your content's just going to be pushed down and it's just not going to show up. So everybody's been saying like LinkedIn, I'm not seeing something for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. That's because of the AI stop. It's not because it's you, but there's other, a bunch of different things that keep your content from showing up, and it's because it's primarily been flagged as AI content.
Interesting.
So,
That is definitely, I bet you a lot of people don't know that.
nope. We just put an article out on that up on LinkedIn on our company page too. So,
Yeah, that's a big thing because if you're creating content that nobody's seeing, it don't matter.
yep.
I
And everybody will pay attention to it, but there's a lot of changes coming, and look at Adobe. We're a big Adobe shop, so it's easy, but they just bought the number two SEO tool, SEMrush.
I saw that.
And so SEMrush will be part of that, and it will be built into all of the content creation that comes out of Adobe.
I saw that. What do you
So,
think about so like you have all these, like there's Adobe, there's Canva, there's all of this, or you could just go into ChatGPT now and talk and it'll build stuff. And all of the video editing stuff has now added all the tokens for AI stuff. But I'm a little bit concerned that again, you can go into like 11 labs to your point. You can record enough content where it can literally create your avatar based on the information that you fed it, and then it'll do an entire podcast for you.
Hmm. Yep.
Like that kind of content you're saying though is going to get flagged by the engines.
Yep. So for a while I was doing my Finally Friday and I stopped doing it for a couple weeks. I'm gonna pick it back up but that was 100% a AI generated avatar of myself.
And
And it was doing really well up front. And when the AI stop came, instead of people seeing it on the Friday when we released it, they would see it about a week and a half later, 2 weeks, and it would get great engagement, but it wasn't getting upfront when it was relevant, right? So
mm,
the things that we were talking about that happened in tech that week or that got swept under the carpet that week in tech, it was 2 weeks late. So
wow,
the relevancy of it at that point became. So now I'm going back to retool to say, all right, what do I have in the video editing suite that I can still get this content, put it in, and find a way for myself to do something and really get that AI moniker away from and relaunch the Finally Friday sessions here at the beginning of the year.
interesting. Did you
So,
notice that separate topic? Did you notice that LinkedIn launched like forever you could get like the paid for LinkedIn subscriptions, right? Where it gives
mhm,
you extra functionality. But now the company pages can also subscribe
to the
to a
premium.
version of that.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
Um, I think if you're a small organization and you really spend the time to set up your profile properly and it's linked back using your website and your website is optimized properly for the engines, it's of benefit. But if you just buy it and pop some things in there of feature, it really doesn't do you much. So, is the cost commensurate with the gain? Can be, but you've got to optimize your website for the new AEO, GEO, and there's a lot of levers you got to turn to do that properly.
Interesting.
And if you do that, you'll win. I mean, we've spent a lot of time retooling this year, and we've gone from organically page 5 for a lot of our content to page 2 and page 1
Hmm.
organically. We're actually beating out paid subscribers because of the effort that we've put into the new website framework that we're working with. And the other part is um, now you start showing up in the AI snippets too because of the way that you've done it. So it's a way to beat the sponsored content and the paid ads. So are paid ads dead? No, there's still a place for them. But the AEO, the answer engine optimization, and the generative engine optimization is something that if people aren't doing it, they've got to get on board and do it.
Do you think people like I don't I the answer to this question up front is no, in my opinion. Do you believe people are relying on the single answer results of the AI search tools versus a Google or a Bing?
Um, I believe there is a fair percentage,
Throw a
and
number out there.
um, I would bet you that 35 to 40% of the people are just going into a chat GPT and having an argument with chat GPT now.
40%?
Yep. I talked to a lot of people like I was in chat GPT and I went and I did this and now I'm trying to do what it told me to do and it won't do it. And I'm like, did you just use Google? And they're like, no. I said, why don't you try it in Google? They get a different result. Um, which, that's where we're getting lazy, right? And I just call it a lazy factor. Like technical people are usually really smart when it comes to not accepting an answer like, I can't believe that feature doesn't work. Go figure it out. There's got to be a way. What's the workaround? Well, if you go in and the menu system doesn't line up, something's not giving you the right answer. So it doesn't mean you should go to from ChatGPT then to Copilot or to Gemini because you're probably going to get similar answers, right? But if you go out to Google, 9 times out of 10, you're going to find that you're going to get a similar but a more accurate answer.
Hmm. So for people who are like, hey, I want to show up in the results when I go to ask ChatGPT, who's the best IT service provider in Plug Your City. Uh,
Hmm.
it's only really giving you one result, not 10 pages of results.
Right. Because it's not a live audit tool. It can only see what's in the LLM. And if the website isn't optimized for the LLMs, it's not going to gather data. It can't look necessarily at your Google business profile that's optimized for things like Near Me, which then links out to Google Backpacks that can get you either locally or nationally or internationally, depending how you set it up, right? So all of those things are very dependent now in this, AI chat engine that we live in. So if you don't optimize all the platforms to do that, and just as you do it, Google changes it. Like, Google changed in November. You used to be able to go in and stack questions in your Google business profile. Can't do that anymore. As of mid-November, it's discontinued and depreciated. So now you have to think about where are you going to put those questions, right?
So,
They want you to maintain more of that stuff in your website and not in their platform.
but the LLM platforms aren't always up to date. In some cases, they
Bingo.
lag behind, like could be a year behind, could be
Yep.
6 months behind.
Hmm.
So that's a long time to wait for it to catch up.
Yep. And there's
Hmm.
ways for you to force yourself into the LLMs to do things differently. But, it takes a lot of time. Like I know for me, it took us a good 4 months to really retool how we were doing things from an SEO, AEO, GEO, and website, and then based on the ICP persona and journey, and bringing that all together to drive a different outcome, right? But we learned very quickly that the engines were very good at some things and they were horrible at the others, where we still had to go and do things in the website, submit them into search. Once they're in search, go out and do some other things with different tools and brute force your way through the systems. So,
Hmm. Wow. Sounds like we're in very quickly this has turned over a little bit, but
yeah.
I
And,
want.
and, even in our area, marketing, everybody's like, oh, there's no place for an agency anymore. And I say, baloney. You
Mhm.
still don't have resources. You still don't have what an agency can do for you. But if the agency is not keeping up with the times, yeah, there's no place for you anymore. If you're doing the old stuff, you're not going to see the lead generation. You're not going to see inbound things coming to the website or filling out forms or downloading things that you're making available as resources. So,
Well, so we're gonna call this marketing 18.0.
I don't know what to call it, but I can tell you it's changing. It's changing rapidly. And I know we've spent a lot of time retooling and maintaining workforce, but we're getting ready to have to scale our workforce again. So,
Hmm.
um, just because the new offerings are starting to really take off, and that's a good thing, but it took us a bit to get here. So,
No, that's fair. Pete, how do people find you, your company, what you can help them with, and maybe check out a couple things or reach out to talk to you a little bit?
yep. So you can always go to our website, equilibriumconsult.com, and anywhere it says book a meeting, you can always grab time with me right there, or you can fill out a contact form and it will come and get us. I'm up on LinkedIn. If you're not connected, please jump up, connect with me, and check out our resources on our website on equilibriumconsult.com. We've got a lot of, there's an article that goes out each week for Omnichannel Monday. There's another series called Optimize This, which is all about the MarTech stack that Denise puts out. That just kicked in, plus our regular educational blogs and webinars, and then some tools under the resource menu that we've made available.
Well,
So,
for everyone listening to the audio version of this, you can find Pete's last name, Busam. So when you go to search for him on the platforms, Pete Busam.
yeah, if you can't walk them, you bus them.
That's pretty good. Or you can U-box them? No,
No,
don't do
no,
that.
no, don't you box them.
Don't do
No, no,
that.
it's not
Guys,
even a
this
Halloween costume.
so bad. Guys, this session was absolutely recorded. We'll make sure it gets out there in all the regular places. Make sure to like, forward, subscribe, all that good stuff. Looking forward to winding down the year, although I feel like I'm going to go all the way to the very last second. And then coming up here on the other side, 2026, we're going to let you know all of the cool things that we have in the calendar. And there are way more in 26 than we had in 25, believe it or not. So looking forward to gearing up for another year. But let's close out 25 strong and stay warm out there, guys. Take it easy, Pete.
Talk soon.
See ya.